Welcome, Flip Clock fans. You're looking at a Copal. This is a Copal RP-205, and this one is designated -1. I picked this up off eBay as a challenge. It was listed as non-working. So I wanted to get in the clock, talk about it a little bit, and show some considerations on how to fix a clock motor like this. It's different than what you might be used to. The Copal RP-205 started appearing in newspaper advertisements right at 1979. It was at the tail end of the flip clock era, and, well, the clocks were not that popular. And as we're going to see as we get into this Copal is not as nice as some of the earlier Copals. They were getting towards the end of their run, and that's just the way it is. So the clock ran from about 1979 to 1983. So what was going on in this era? Well, on April 20th, 1979, President Jimmy Carter was on a solo fishing expedition in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, when a rabbit that was being chased by hounds jumped into the water and swam aggressively toward him. The president shooed it off with a paddle, and the rabbit swam away. Monty Python and the Holy Grail was released about the same time, and it featured a scene with a rabbit killing people, and so the rabbit that swam toward Carter became known as the Killer Rabbit. And it was in 1983 that President Ronald Reagan famously referred to the Soviet Union as an evil empire and the focus of evil in the modern world. The following year, during a sound check before a radio address, Reagan made a joke that was recorded on an open microphone. He said, "My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you that today I'm signing legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes." While not broadcast live, the recording was leaked to the public. Soviet forces were reportedly briefly put on high alert in the Far East.
Come over to the dark side. We have cookies and ice cream.
But let's take a look at this and see what are some considerations about this and why these motors are a little difficult to work on. Now the thing is, this clock is actually very much like the Timex that we've looked at before. The way that comes off is the same as on that Timex. You pull towards you to get this alarm button off. Lift off like so. And there you see a motor maybe like you're not used to seeing. And they're a little bit different to work on if they're not working. So you got to be very careful with these clocks because this is straight up electric mains current here, which could kill you. So it's right out in the open. All right, and the next step is to take this off. So what you might find when you see a motor like this is it's just not working at all. Now, first of all, at this stage, we're testing this here. This shouldn't, don't get aggressive, but this should not move on its own. That's going to come into play here in a minute. And I'll show you what happens. So this is where this seats in here, and you want to make sure that when you put that in there that it spins freely. If not, you might need to put a little lubrication in there. It's tight tolerance here, and that should spin freely. Alright, now this is where I ran into a problem, because once you get into this gearbox, things can happen. Now, what happened to me was I set this down, and it popped all the gears out, just like that. And then things were jumbled around, and that made a problem later. What I had to do is I had to clear a lot of old lubricant and grease here. It was really stiff. But this was the problem. There are two plates here, and this is supposed to spin freely. Those two plates are supposed to spin freely. So this little thing here is supposed to be able to slide under there very easily, and what you'll find probably is that it's stuck, and there's very small amount of space here. So what I had to do is I used some alcohol to try to clear that out. I used soap and water. Finally it broke loose. Again, not forcing anything. You don't want to mess with that. Clear all that out, put some plastic safe oil in there because you've got all these plastic gears, and the gears are in good shape. And then what you saw on the top here, that was just some PAO grease because it impacts right up against there. So what I had done, and what the problem was, because I had set it down, this gear came loose, and the way it's supposed to go, you got a larger end, a larger gear, and then a smaller gear on the bottom. The way it's supposed to go is this goes in first, and then the smaller end goes in next. Well, I put it here, and it seemed to fit, and then I put everything else in place. This goes under those 3 gears. And it seemed to work. So I put the rest of the gears in. Again, once you get all the gears in place, those smaller gears, it shouldn't turn because of the way it's geared. But again, you can test to see. Well, the problem is this. That gear doesn't go here. It goes on this post. And that small change meant the difference between a working clock and a non-working clock. So the clock would keep time for a spell, and then this gear would slip. And I happened to be watching it when it did, and it slipped, and the clock moved backwards. So if you put the gear in this way, and again, there's a smaller gear on the bottom to mesh with this, put it in this way, and then start assembling, then everything's going to be fine. I'm not sure why they have that second post. I'm wondering if it's a different shape, size gear, so that they could make the clock for 50 hertz. I don't know. So I put a little oil in here, and then a little grease on the other side or on top there. Then this will fit in. Like so. So those are some considerations. Again, the clock is not Copal's best work. It's the end of the flip clock era. It's kind of a nice bookend to my collection of Copals. So there it is, a Copal RP-205. Not one of Copal's best clocks, but again, it's still a flip clock. Well, thanks for taking the time.
Know the power of the dark side.